First of all, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. In this particular episode, we are talking with Joe Poeschl, and we talked a lot about what it takes to start a business, the confidence it's needed, and who around you can support. So, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur or just started out or thinking of doing anything new, this episode is going to be beneficial for you. Another thing which I think was one of the highlights of the podcast was how Joe talked about giving feedback. A lot of people struggle with giving honest, critical feedback to people around them, even with their relationships and their work relationships, and that hinders growth. So, if you don't take away anything from this podcast, I'd love for you to listen to that framework of giving feedback in this particular podcast. Finally, since Joe is such a amazing catalyst for innovation across many ecosystems, he's given some amazing anecdotes and some great stories from what he has experienced in the Milwaukee ecosystem. So I'd love for you to take a listen to that as well. Thank you so much, and listen to the podcast now. Thank you.
Thank you,
Naveen.
for doing this. I'm excited and I'm so happy that I'm getting the chance to converse. We've had conversations before, but this is that opportunity where I get to sit down formally and talk with you. We were talking a little bit about like experiences and how do we make those experiences special and meaningful. What do you think is that experience for someone who's starting a business, who's just getting out, who has dreams in their eyes of creating something for themselves, for the community? What's that experience like?
Yeah. Well, Naveen, I mean, like, to have somebody there with you, supporting you, encouraging you, being real with you as you begin an entrepreneurial journey, trying to start a new business, a new service, a new product. Even if you're like in a large organization and doing some innovation project, it's new. Everything ahead of you is uncharted territory. And to have somebody that truly does demonstrates and takes the time to craft an experience that is for you and an environment for you to grow, to explore, to be encouraged, again, get this necessary support. I think that's the game changer. That is what a new entrepreneur or innovator needs more than capital right now, more than like all these other things that can be very tactical and yes, practical things that you need, but to have space created for you, I think is an incredibly special thing. It's something that's kind of defined and driven a lot of my career and what I choose to spend my time on and dedicate. And it's like mission critical for me now. It's a lot of my own why. Yeah. So that's, I believe in it strongly. If I have one like lasting bit of legacy into my future, I hope I can be a person that has sparked a higher dedication to experiences for people. That's just something that I find to be really special.
Is it special to you because you've had experiences which were not ideal, or is it just your inner drive of, I know you as a person, that how you are, you're amazing?
Yeah.
Or is it just coming from your value set or your experience set?
Of course, I appreciate that. It's not necessarily that I had a bunch of bad experiences and believe that I can right the wrongs of anything. In fact, it's probably more of a desire to emulate the great experiences I have had and the support I've gotten in running my own businesses and in helping entrepreneurs start theirs and build their product and build their companies. I think it comes more so down to a belief that there is always more opportunity for something better. And I see it as a space that is filled with opportunities. And so I do find it to be particularly like a creative playground to wonder and experiment with how do we create something that is more conducive to entrepreneurs and innovators to have that better foundational start, to get things up and moving faster, to have more confidence in their own abilities to produce and create and do something that, again, is uncharted ahead of them. If you've got nothing else as an entrepreneur, a little bit of confidence can go a long way. And so I think a great experience can foster that.
Do you think that there's a gap in that segment for early stage entrepreneurs? Just having that confidence, or what are the gaps that you're seeing?
Yeah. I don't know if I would ever really describe it as, and I'll frame this up as like the Milwaukee ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have I guess a fairly long history here now, and I've been committed to Milwaukee for the last 15 years, we'll say, and especially within the tech and the startup spaces. I love it. So I began my career in running a startup studio. We built web tech products for non-technical entrepreneurs, but they had the tech idea. We were the tech team for hire, and we would build stuff for them. And then I got into the community development side of things by co-founding Startup Milwaukee with a couple of special folks. And so that's where you got to really experiment now with these experiences and thinking about how do we foster those connections and the support and the resources and these sort of things. The opportunities that existed there, not so much the gaps. I tend to think on like that asset
exactly
sort of thing, right? But they are pretty much the same, thing. They're just different perspectives, I suppose. We just saw that there were requests within the community. Hey, like what are we doing to spur, topics of mentorship or coaching? Can we get more tactical with our feedback? Can we find ways to give entrepreneurs that early access and direct connection? Like, I want to be plugged into the ecosystem. We heard a lot. Can you do these, intros for me? And the answer is always yes. Like, let's go ahead and do that. Let's experiment with it. And then our creative brains start to take over as community builders and, experiential designers. And we think about how can we do this at scale? How can we do this for more people all at once? How can we really accelerate these folks? How can we open up a wider, more accessible pipeline? And for our work in the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition, that's where we kind of began prompts or thoughts like this, questions like this. And it's one reason why we formed the 4M Tech Startup Incubator, right? So we had these requests. We were hearing from entrepreneurs like, hey, it seems like you're all very well connected and I kind of want to get into this space. I have an idea for a startup. I don't really know where to begin with it. What would you recommend I do? And, you had that conversation a couple of times. You're like, I can start to answer this for a lot of people all at once. I feel like there's opportunity here. And so we created the 4M Tech Startup Incubator as that first step for very early stage entrepreneurs, even folks that didn't even have an idea yet. They had an area of interest or a passion. We're like, yeah, we can help you out, and we can offer a couple of bits of advice that are just like, here's how generally startup founders will think about their business. And so like, let's take that strategic lens, or let's analyze our customer a little bit more, understand what the market's like. Like, is there something here, basically? But then let's bring in some folks from our network to act as coaches and to offer some feedback and to answer some questions that you might have. And going back to our whole conversation around experiences and for entrepreneurs, if we can craft an environment that allows them to build a little bit more of that confidence, then we're doing a lot of good, and it has a ripple effect down the line. So let's build confidence that they're doing the right things in the right order. Yeah, it kind of comes with some of the content and the curriculum, if you want to think of it that way. And let's build their confidence that they have the network of support. So that comes with the coaching and the professionals that we can connect them with. And then there's also the confidence that the next steps are going to be good ones for them. And so let's plug them into the ecosystem. Let's let them know what resources are out there, and whether that's an accelerator program or some funding opportunities or, what have you. There's a great growing ecosystem in the Milwaukee tech area, and our region is really good at supporting entrepreneurs. So like, we just thought to ourselves, let's open up a big funnel and get everyone in and give them some, a little bit of a boost and support them and create an experience around it that fosters that environment.
It is so important to have that early stage confidence that you said, because you're not sure, especially if you're like a first time entrepreneur, or let's leave the term entrepreneur out. First time trying something and going out.
Anything.
Trying things.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur word is a little heavy.
Yeah.
And it has connotations. Let's leave that aside. But just you're trying new things.
Right.
Perhaps you have not tried, or people around you in your circle, in your growing circle, or in your network have not tried. Then obviously there's a lot of resistance to that idea from your immediate network.
Yep.
And what you are saying comes to kind of channel some of those softer aspects. Because yes, you can learn about building a product, selling it.
Yeah.
all the tactical aspects, but
Yep. You can watch right YouTube video and get that
YouTube
stuff.
videos and everything is available.
Yeah.
Information is available, but there's that people angle.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, is because sometimes we also talk about that there's overcoached and underpaid.
Mm.
But I believe that there is a lot of value in your network. So what do you think is, from that early stage perspective, what are the kinds of resources or the people that you need to meet?
If I were to broadly describe what early stage entrepreneurs need more than anything else in terms of connections, I would say it is to find the people that are going to be real with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, industry background, experience background, skill background, these are all great things, but you can be pretty flexible on all of that as long as you have some people that are going to be real with you. And when I say be real with you, I'm not necessarily saying I need the people that are going to like poke holes in everything that you say and do, or be, super critical of all of your actions and all of your ideas. I'm honestly just saying people that can be a real human with you.
Okay.
And yes, that comes with a little bit of critique, but that also just comes with some vulnerability and saying like, hey, I don't have to have already done this for me to coach you or have a great relationship with you. I can just be there with you on this journey, and we can kind of explore some things together. We can have new ideas together. We can question things together. We can be concerned and not know what is next together.
Yeah.
And that is that for an early stage entrepreneur. Imagine, I mean, you're on your own, you're exploring something new, all uncharted territory. Why would you want to surround yourself with a bunch of people that only have the answers or position themselves to only have the answers? Like, no, this is all new. All the whole scenario, all of the building blocks, all the possible decisions to make, all the potential avenues to explore. It's all new. No one has ever done this before. And so we don't need a bunch of people that have the answers. We need a bunch of people that can experience this with us. And so let's be real together.
Let's be real together.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You have perhaps one of the most empathetic and nicest way of giving feedback, and that framework. And I love it to the core. I can never do justice when I recreate it. But we were talking about being real.
Yeah.
And that being real means giving out the truth. And that truth can be bitter. And it can break your confidence. And a lot of these conversations around feedback, like, nobody likes to hear that their idea is shit or any of that. But can you go through that, your framework of how to give that feedback?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I really value models and structure to tough and uncharted conversations. So again, we're going to go back to this entrepreneurship thing, innovators, like when you're being creative and you're hearing an idea for the first time as somebody that is in maybe a mentorship or coaching position, it can be just as scary for that person to be like, what am I supposed to say to this new idea? And for some, it's like, I just want to poke all the holes in it, and I want to be super critical. And like you said, no one really wants to hear that their idea is bad. And the truth is that they're probably really, it's not that an idea is bad, it's that we're maybe not presenting it in the way that makes sense to the person that we're talking to. Like there's a million different ways that an idea that is quote unquote bad can be interpreted, but in reality, it's just not fully baked yet, right? Or exactly. Something like that. So one of the frameworks that I really love to structure and deliver high quality feedback, it's 3 parts. I'm a big fan of 3s, like human brains can remember 3s.
Power of 3.
Yeah, power of 3. It's I like, I wish, I wonder.
I like, I wish, I wonder.
I wonder. Yeah. I like, that's the one that everyone always enjoys starting off with. It's the compliments, like, oh, I really like the way that you approach this. That's a cool thing, this, that, and the other thing. We've all been in feedback conversations where it's only been I like, and you're like, you walk away going, all right, so I guess we're good, It's nice, sure, but we need something more. And so that's where
substantive.
Exactly. That's where I wish and I wonder come into play. And these are 2 beautiful pieces here. So I wish often will expose a little bit of maybe a gap or something that wasn't fully fully presented just yet. So, hey, I wish you would have explained a little bit more on this, or I wish I could have seen a visual of, this concept, and so I wish can expose some area for the entrepreneur, the innovator to continue to explore a little bit more and understand that in their future story that they tell somebody, let's hit on that point because you just got a question about it, And then third, I wonder, that's where you have some of the creative freedom to maybe say, hey, I wonder what it would look like if you did this. Or I wonder how your concept changes if you also consider blah, 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 right? So that leverages the power of my skills, experience, background as the feedback giver to say, hey, here's an extra thing for you to potentially consider here. And yeah, as the founder or the innovator, you can say, yeah, I'll take that into consideration. Interesting. What I think is really great about this model, the 1, 2, 3, I like, I wish, I wonder, is that the feedback itself is just kind of given in a short snippet, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of feedback is presented as just clarifying questions. Can you tell me more about this? And the founder's like, yeah, and here's a whole bunch more. And so now with the extra information, what feedback do you have? And they go, well, can you also explain a little bit more about this? I'm like, I'm just clarifying now and getting far too into the weeds. Like, I need feedback in these areas. And so I like, I wish, I wonder, just like gets it out there, makes it really digestible. The founder can like take the couple of notes and now we've had a good conversation. So it just is, it's the real thing, right? I want to be real with you. I like this. I wish I heard more about this. And I wonder what would happen if you tried this. That's me just being real and taking what you presented and offering my honest assessment on it.
You're being real, you're being honest, and you're being nice.
Yeah.
Power of 3.
Oh, power of 3. Beautiful. Beautiful.
The time from your day and really invest in learning and hope you're learning with us. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people who are supporting this. A big shout out to the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. The Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition is a member-based non-profit which is on a mission to inclusively grow the vibrant tech ecosystem in Southeast Wisconsin. Thank you so much to the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition for sponsoring this podcast.
So what are some of the other things that you do? Because I know you do a lot, but specifically within Milwaukee, within the Milwaukee Tech Hub programming, what are some of the things that you are involved in that drive you the most?
Yeah. Well, there's the programming aspect, which is great because it's tactical. It gets people up and moving and connecting with one another. There's something very tangible and rewarding about all of that. So I do truly love bringing people together for an experience to grow. And within the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition, I specifically do that within 2 program areas. One is the 4M Tech Startup Incubator. We've been talking about that a little bit. But then also there's another one called Fuse. And it's a summer AI bootcamp for specifically for like college level students. All ages, all backgrounds, all disciplines. It's open to anyone that is enrolled in a college program, which is or a higher education program. So it puts together a really diverse group of learners to understand how AI is impacting the world of work and the future of work. So it really is all about exploring the like ethical implications and getting into the critical thinking level of how we leverage AI to innovate responsibly. And I think it's a fascinating conversation to have with these folks. The reality for them is that they'll ask a question like, hey, how am I supposed to prepare for this? Or like, is this industry going to change and my jobs are going to, and we honestly just tell them, I don't know the answer to that. We're kind of all actively creating the answer right now. So what would you like to do? And then they go, oh, okay. Like there's a lot of empowerment that comes with that. And for, rising leaders and learners that are really going to create that future, it's important for them to have that empowerment early and now. So Fuse does that in spades. And I think it's a really cool program. It's a powerful one. So that on the programming side within the Tech Hub, those are 2 things that I truly love and enjoy doing. But then there's the strategy side and the community building side, and so that's the other lens that I look at a lot of my work through. So as the director of engagement for the Tech Hub Coalition, It really is about engaging, listening to our members in the community to understand what the needs are, what the insights are that they're pulling in at day to day, kind of at the front lines, if you want to think of it that way, and helping us inform our strategy as what we can do as a convening organization and an organization that sits across sectors and collaborates aggressively with other people, so we can kind of sit in that neutral territory between a lot of different large gears and say, hey, we're hearing this from the community. How might we act on this insight or explore this area that needs some new resources or some new influence or some new life and energy, and we can add that in there. So I love being able to operate at that level, but then also every now and then dip my toe into the, getting in the room with some people and delivering on the program.
It is super interesting to know that someone like you has a seat at that table and you're creating that table in a way because you've been a person who started a business, entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah.
So you understand the pain
Yeah.
that someone who's starting out might feel. Do you think that has helped you a lot in like your decision making and programming that you want to push for, the ones who are like you, but just at an earlier stage?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it certainly is powerful to have empathy in your decision making and in the processes that you establish. Now, one thing that I think I've learned and kind of carried with me through going from entrepreneur to community building and development to now more of like this economic development. Let's get to kind of catalytic change and transformational change within the Milwaukee region. Those are different lenses, right? And so one is you're really concerned about your business. Another one is like, let's create the network. And another one is like, let's drive social change and do things at a regional level through collaboration. So the lens changes, but what I've learned is that these tools and tactics and processes that you can establish give you a reliable like foundation to work from and with. Because, okay, so you're an entrepreneur, you got a new idea for something. Yes, you can read books that are like, here are the tools that you should, explore. Here's some of the tactics. Here's ways to set up your business. Here's some frameworks. Here, like is what a great pitch looks like. Like let's reverse engineer that and plug in your own data and ideas. And so we've got the toolkit, right? Building a great network of people. There are toolkits out there. That's a little bit more of a fuzzy area though. Like how do you build an ecosystem in a network? Well, there's stuff that people have been exploring and there's research out there that you can now go and see, but there are some toolkits, there's some playbooks out there. Now at the regional like economic development sort of thing, there are other toolkits and playbooks. And what I have been able to like bring through and I think is important for my work and gives me some of that confidence to do it is I am working to establish playbooks that rely on that empathy and rely on working with others and collaborating with others to craft environments that are about listening first and leading with inclusion and bringing people to a table and making that table expand as much as we possibly can, or replicating it as often as we can to get to scale and to truly align vision and get people energized about what can be and thinking creatively. I mean, these are all the good things that you want to be able to do, but you don't want to leave it up to magic or like, cross fingers and hopes and dreams. You want to have processes. You want to be able to say, this is what we do and this is how we do it. And we get to that catalytic change and that transformational change by leveraging this process. So that's something that honestly, just in the last couple of years has started to really form and take shape in my own brain. And I think about that work as how I lead within the region at this point.
I can see a definite pattern in the things that you said, because even when you were talking just now about not leaving it to magic, you said there has to be a process. That's again a framework to build that. The same goes back to when you said about your feedback. There's a process, there's a framework. So there's structured approach towards building, whether it's a small goal or a big goal.
Yes. And just to build off of that a little bit more, I believe that and we apply it in our programming when we talk about creativity. We apply it in our feedback models when we talk about coaching and putting together good, interactions with people. But I also think that, like, for the Milwaukee region, a reason why strong frameworks and playbooks and operations and processes work really well for us and has been successful in bringing together community and fostering this transformational change. One reason that works so much for us is our like culture and mindset in the Midwest, just like broadly. If you were to ask 100 people, how would you characterize our culture and the way that we solve problems and that sort of thing? People are like, we're practical, we're tactical. We like, you just, put our heads down and kind of grind and like get things done. There's something in the water, as they say, within Milwaukee, this region, the state, the Midwest, that allows us, and it creates a lot of confidence in our ability to do big things when they're presented in very practical ways.
I agree.
And yeah, right? Like, you feel that,
yes,
right?
Practical, tactical, and economical.
There it is. There it is. Power of 3 right there. And we will get stuff done. We will get stuff done. So about a decade ago, I had this wild idea with several other folks in the community to create really one of the largest academic collaborations that had ever been presented in the country. Like, we really did try to find and see whether this was something that had been done before. We, through really amazing champion and advocate and mentor and friend that we just recently lost in the Milwaukee area, Dr. Michael Lovell at Marquette, he was able to champion for us this idea of pulling together all the local universities and all the local colleges to collaborate around an innovation and entrepreneurial experience for any student within any of these schools. And so at the time, there were some entrepreneurial programs that were popping up at local universities. There's nothing being offered to students, though, across the entire region to say, hey, if you are ready to like get off campus and like get plugged into the innovation and the entrepreneurial scene here in the area, come to this place, come to this program and like try it out, right? And so Dr. Lovell said, this is awesome. And literally, it was like his second week on the job becoming president of Marquette. And so it was very early on, and he took a risk on us, but he knew that a big vision like this, presented in the way that we wanted to, it was, for as wild and bold as it was actually incredibly practical and incredibly logical to just say, hey, it's really tough for all of us to like develop these programs and have it be, impactful for students. Why don't we just kind of all work together? And here's this third-party organization that can help us all do it for free. And it's just like, well, yeah, economical. Yeah, there's the third part right there. And we were like, yeah, we'll work with all of you to develop some best practices for the curriculum. We'll work with all of you to, get students that are maybe winning that competition on your campus or like doing some really cool stuff to have that next step. Or for other students that maybe haven't even gotten into those things yet on campus, they were finding out about us, doing the thing with us, and then going back to campus and being like, I'm ready to win this competition that we've got here. Really cool stories emerged out of all of this. But again, the kind of wildest, and for maybe other areas, the most crazy idea was really for us the most practical one and the most logical one and the most economical one. Why don't we go ahead and try this out? And I thought that was beautiful. It was a perfect like little moment in capsule of what the Midwest and our culture really looks like and why we can do things differently. I thought it was really cool.
I can tell that. And I think knowing you as a person, like your passion and your zeal towards this and helping, that couldn't be best summarized with like that story. I didn't know about like the whole aspect of like collaborations throughout. This is something I'm learning too. Yeah. That was a cool story. So we have to talk more, and this conversation has to continue. But I just wanted to thank you for making the time and sharing a lot of this. I think the viewers are going to get a lot of value out of how to just be nice also.
How to be nice.
Yeah.
I'll start working on the book. How to be nice.
We'll promote it first over here.
That's great. Oh, tell you what, Naveen, can I leave you with one more story?
Yes,
Something that
absolutely.
So knowing that a lot of the audience for this podcast is outside of the Milwaukee region.
Yep.
I get a lot of students, a lot of maybe boomerang professionals, entrepreneurs that are wondering if Milwaukee is the place and why would I start here? You know, where else can I? So this question of like, why Milwaukee? Now I'll say, because this is just a fun story, and I do tell a lot of people it. I did grow up in the area. I went to Marquette University as well as MIAD, the art school here. They were doing academic collaboration before it was cool, so I feel like I benefited greatly from actual and very real and tactical academic collaboration. Well, anyway, so having that background here,
correct.
I graduated, and then I lived in a couple other cities. So I lived in Minneapolis for a little while. I actually moved out to Boulder, Colorado for a bit. And I was also in Hamburg, Germany for a little while. So I
international too.
What was it?
International too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I lived in a bunch of these different communities, and like I came back here, and it was just supposed to be for a moment. I was literally just like, hey, mom and dad, I'm gonna like camp out for a couple weeks here. I'm gonna finish up my portfolio. I was like in advertising and going to get into the creative space, and so I'm gonna finish up my portfolio. I'm applying for a bunch of different jobs. Going to get that that awesome gig at an ad agency. That was the plan. I then met some people and ended up establishing my startup studio, and that was actually based out of Chicago. I was still living in Milwaukee here. So I swear this is going somewhere. So here I lived in all these different cities. I was running a business out of Chicago. I was still here in Milwaukee. And for people that now ask me why Milwaukee, I just revert back to that kind of period of time. And in all my experiences in living in those other cities, I was young. I had a lot of energy, and I still do, but not as young anymore. Yeah,
a lot of energy.
I got energy. So here I am. I'm out there. I'm meeting new people, and I'm always talking about new ideas. Right, like I'm pitching. Hey, why don't we try this? Like these sort of things. And full transparency in all those other cities, it was always met with like you know what? We tried that a couple of years ago, and it didn't really work out. Or that person over there is already working on that thing or doing something similar. Like, don't do it. A lot of like no and excuses, right?
Okay.
Here in Milwaukee, it caught me right away in that when I would pitch a new idea, it was yeah, let's try that. Or that person's already working on that. Let's work with them. Let's collaborate and make it even bigger. It was a yes and mentality, right? Yes, and let's try this. Yes, let's go for it. Yes, and. So I describe to people, Milwaukee is one of those cities that is not done. And I wanted to be in a place that was not done yet. Everywhere else, it was like, yeah, we've, sure, but we're kind of already got that.
Yeah, fully baked in.
Right. Like we're done. We don't need you to do that. And so as a young aspiring change maker, to be met with a lot of no's and not yets, and that doesn't work for me. So a city like Milwaukee, a region like Milwaukee was not done. And it's a place where you can make your mark. You can do it early. You can do it with honestly just a small amount of ambition.
Yeah.
And there's people that are like, yeah, we need more. We need more. It was a yes and. This city's not done. And so if you want a place that, has some blank pages that you can write your own chapter in, now I'm mixing up a bunch of metaphors.
No, that is
here
beautiful.
It is.
Blank
right?
pages to write your chapters. I have never heard that.
Yeah.
It's true.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So come to Milwaukee, everybody. It's cool. It's a cool place.
Come to Milwaukee.
Am I supposed to look into the camera now? Coming to Milwaukee. Yeah.
But Joe, again, this has been phenomenal, and I hope you give your time again.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to do this anytime you want.
To talk. He's on the record saying this, so
I'm on the record.
Okay,
yes.
Good, perfect. Thank you.
Naveen, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
This podcast is brought to you by the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. The Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition is a member-based nonprofit on a mission to inclusively grow the vibrant tech ecosystem in southeast Wisconsin. They help drive innovation by creating catalytic connections. From their tech focused job boards, events calendars, and monthly meetup groups, there are countless ways to plug into the tech ecosystem. Milwaukee's vibrant urban living, thriving food and art scene, and downtown views of Lake Michigan offer the benefits of a big city but with the prices of a small one. If you want to build your tech career in Milwaukee, get connected to choosemketech.org. Thank you so much for listening to this, and a huge shout out to the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition for supporting this podcast.